Hey guys, I'm Nick, and on this episode of the Scran line, I'm going to show you how to make this amazing rainbow cake. Now, we're going to make this rainbow cake even cooler by putting a melted rainbow ice cream cone on top to make it look like there's like a rainbow explosion or melting disaster on top of this cake, but it's gonna look amazing. Now this cake is really fun to make. You'll have lots of fun making it. It does take a little bit of time though, but you know, sometimes the best things to make are the ones that take a little bit of time and you get this massive reward at the end. Now there's a couple of tools you're gonna need. I'm gonna go through a couple of those at the beginning of the recipe and a couple of them as we go through the recipe. Okay guys, so we've got a couple of ingredients here. I'm going to go over the cake ingredients first. So we've got some plain flour and some salt, some sugar, some baking powder, softened butter, some vanilla extract, 2 eggs and some milk. So you want to make sure all those things are at room temperature. Moving on to our ganache, some white chocolate, cream and some glucose syrup. So there's a couple of other extra stuff that you're going to need. We're going to need some cake crumbs. So this is some leftover cake crumbs. You can get store-bought cake crumbs or you can bake a cake. So you just want those to be in crumbs. So we've got a cake board here as well. We've also got 6 bowls which we're going to need to mix our different cake batters in. Some cooking spray. I've got some buttercream here, so you can grab that recipe on thescranline.com. And I've got some Americolor colors. So you want 6 all up and you want the colors of the rainbow. So we've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple. And we've got some baking tins here. Now these ones here are 6-inch baking tins. You can use any kind you like. I mean, if you use a bigger baking tin, you'll get flatter cakes, which is fine. I just want a taller cake, so I'm using smaller tins, and you want to make sure that you spray the bottom of those and you put baking paper, so that's going to make it a lot easier for our cakes to come out. Okay, first thing we're going to do is make our cake. So we're popping all of our dry ingredients into a mixer, so you can do this with a stand mixer or a hand mixer. Okay, so flour, salt, sugar and baking powder. So give that a quick mix so you can get all of those dry ingredients mixed. Next, you're going to put your butter in, so 1 cube at a time. Now make sure that that butter is softened. If your butter isn't softened, you can pop it in the microwave for 10 seconds at a time and just give it a mix every time. Just make sure that you don't melt it. Okay, so once you've got all of your butter in, you're looking for kind of like a sand crummy texture. So just make sure that all of your butter is incorporated properly. Next, we're going to add our eggs in 1 at a time. And then we're going to add our milk in a slow and steady stream. Okay, so once you can see that those ingredients are mixed in, so we're just going to scrape down the bowl, make sure all of those dry ingredients and everything is incorporated properly. Sometimes things get stuck at the bottom, so you definitely always want to make sure that you scrape down, and just pop it on for about 20 more seconds on low and give it another final mix. Okay, so to make sure that all of our butter is evenly distributed amongst all the 6 colors, what we're going to do is we're going to pop all of our batter into a nice big bowl and weigh our batter collectively. So mine is saying it's 1.2 kilos and I'm going to divide that number by 6. Okay, so once we've got our number, we're going to distribute our batters evenly amongst our 6 bowls. Now you want to add your colors in. I'm going for some pastel colors. Now when it comes to coloring, you want to make sure that you put less in, mix, and then if you think you need more, put more in. If you put too more in, it comes out too dark, you kind of can't go backwards. So we're going to spray our tins and pop our baking paper on top, and then put our batter into our baking tins, and we're just going to spread it out evenly and give it a bit of a shake so that everything kind of comes to a nice even level. Okay guys, so once you've got all your cake batters mixed up and in the tin, you're going to bake them for 15 to 20 minutes. Now this will take a little bit of time depending on how many tins you have. I've got 2, so I'm doing 2 at a time. It doesn't matter if you have 1, it's just going to take a little bit longer, but that's okay. You want to make sure that before you put the next one in, that you give your tins a wipe, otherwise those crumbs are going to come onto your next colored cake and it's kind of going to look a little bit messy. Once you've got them in the oven, you're going to move on to making your chocolate. To make your ganache, you want to put your cream in a large microwave safe jug, pop your glucose syrup in there, give it a quick mix, and then add your chocolate. So we're gonna pop this into the microwave for 20 seconds at a time. So once your 20 seconds is up, give it a mix. It might not look like it's doing much, but it is melting. 20 seconds, mix, another 20 seconds, mix. Once you've got it nice and mixed and smooth, you can pop your colors in and give those a mix too. So those are gonna be our melting ice cream on the sides of our cake. Okay guys, so now that you've got your chocolate done, set it aside. We're gonna move on to making our cake ball, which is gonna go in our ice cream cone. To make your cake ball, pop your cake crumbs into a large mixing bowl and place a couple tablespoons of that buttercream frosting. So once again, you can find that recipe on thescranlight.com. So what we're looking for with cake balls, you don't want them to be really thoroughly mixed. You want it to be nice and soft and delicate. So form that into a bowl and then pop it in the fridge for about an hour or two. And that's gonna go on the end of our ice cream cone to form our ice cream. So once you've got your cake ball done, what you want to do is you want to put it in the fridge because you want that to harden up. Okay, so all of our cakes have baked and completely cooled down. Now it's very important that you let these cool down because we're going to give them a trim. If you try trimming these while they're still hot or warm, they're going to tear very easily. So it's very important that they've cooled down. So once you've got them all trimmed, we're gonna put this thing together. So I'm putting a little grip mat on the top of my cake stand, and that's gonna make sure that our cake doesn't move around when we're trying to frost it. So we're gonna put a little bit of buttercream frosting on the bottom, and that's gonna act like a glue for our first layer. Okay, so place that first color on top. Now you can use any color you like, but just make sure that they're going in the order of the rainbow. And we're gonna put a little bit of buttercream frosting on top of that. Now I recommend that you don't use chocolate ganache with this cake because it kind of looks odd when you cut into the cake to have color, chocolate. If you really want to use chocolate, it's probably best to use a white chocolate ganache. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect. What you're aiming for is to have a nice level layer of buttercream. Now, if it goes around the sides or over the sides like it is here, it really doesn't matter. So when you finish that, pop your next cake on and press it down slightly to make sure that it grips on. And our final layer goes on, giving it a little squeeze on the top to make sure that it's on nice and tight. Now, while you're putting your layers on, make sure that your cake is even and it's not going on a leaning Tower of Pisa kind of trip. Make sure that everything is nice and even. So every time you put one cake layer on, make sure it's nice and even, and then the next one, and check every time you're putting your layers on. Okay, so we're putting our crumb coat on here. Now, don't worry if there's any crumbs because that's what a crumb coat is all about. We're trying to catch all of the crumbs in the first layer of frosting, and that's gonna make sure that when we go to our final layer, there's not going to be any of those crumbs showing. Okay, so get it as smooth as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys. You can use a cake scraper if you prefer. I'm just using an offset spatula. Okay, so I'm going to pop this in the fridge for about an hour just to make sure that everything sets nicely, and then we're going to put our final layer of buttercream frosting on. So once again, you want to make sure that you get it as smooth as you can. Now don't worry about that buttercream frosting at the bottom. What you do at the end is just use your offset spatula to scrape it off and get a wet cloth and kind of wipe that excess off. Okay, so before we pop this cake into the fridge for another hour, we're going to put some sprinkles down the bottom. Now, this does two things, adds a little bit of extra color to your cake and hides the joins of the cake meets the cake board. Now, some people hide this using a ribbon, some people put extra frosting. I thought it'd be nice if we put some extra color since we're making a rainbow cake. I thought that rainbow sprinkles would look awesome on this cake. Okay, so grab your cake ball out of the fridge, pop it on top of your cake, give it a light squeeze on top, and then frost it with some buttercream frosting. Okay guys, this is my favorite part. We get to make that awesome rainbow ice cream melting effect. Okay, so we're popping 1 teaspoon of that yellow ganache. You can start with any color again. 1 teaspoon at a time, guys. Don't try putting on more because it's going to get really messy and it's going to actually cover the whole cake. If you feel like it's not dripping down quick enough, just use your spoon to kind of help it along the top of the cake and over the cake. So basically you want to go round and round in the order of the rainbow colors, covering the whole cake. Okay guys, so that is how you make this delicious ice cream melting rainbow cake. Call it whatever you want. I'm gonna figure it out to put it in the title. It's perfect for a birthday. It's perfect for any kind of party. It's perfect just to make it for fun. Give it to your neighbors, give it to your hairdresser. Everyone's gonna be so impressed with this cake and you're gonna have lots of fun making it. So you're gonna find the recipe on thescranline.com. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you have any recipe suggestions, subscribe button is up here. It's just a click, it's free. Subscribe so that you can keep up to date with more recipes. Over there is my last video. Click on that to be taken to more deliciousness. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Scran Line.